Skydorn Network is proud to present Max Hawthorne's Monsters and Marine Mysteries. Known as the Prince of Paleofiction, Max is an American author, screenwriter, and avocational paleontologist, best known for his award-winning Chronos Rising series of sci-fi thrillers. In addition to being a world record-holding angler, he is the author of the Amazon #1 cryptid research book, Monsters and Marine Mysteries. Join Max now as he continues his investigation into the unknown. Are monsters real? Let's find out.
Hey everybody, Max Hawthorne here. Thank you. Gotta love it. Okay, and welcome to the show. I am fired up. I have two, I'm going to be laughing at this all night, amazing guests on tonight's show. A young lady who lives near one of the scariest forests on the planet and who has recorded terrifying sounds coming from there. And a gentleman who is arguably one of the top bioacoustics experts in the world. He has analyzed the recordings we're about to hear before we give a listen. However, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Most importantly, I can't emphasize enough the need for you to share tonight's show with as many of your friends and family members as you can. When you're dealing with the unknown, if you're going to get the word out, word of mouth is the best way to go. So thank you. Also, remember to check us out and all of Skyder Entertainment's fantastic shows on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Last but not least, in honor of my guests, tonight's door prize will consist of a complimentary Kindle copy of my first #1 Amazon bestseller, Monsters and Marine Mysteries. To enter, you must post the hashtag #MonstersAreReal in the chat. Lowercase only, hashtag monsters are real in the chat. Note the prizes are only awarded to residents of the U.S. or its territories. Amazon will not allow residents of other countries to download ebooks outside of their home country. Max found that out the hard way. And as much as I love you guys, flying to Jamaica just to log into a computer and order a Kindle book just isn't feasible. And with that, let me tell you about tonight's guests. First up, we have a man who needs little introduction. David Ellis has been a BFRO field investigator since 2006. In 2010, he joined the Olympic Project, an association of biologists and researchers committed to documenting the existence of Sasquatch through scientific means. He is a self-taught bioacoustics expert with thousands of hours of research to his credit. Along the way, he has collected hundreds of hours of suspicious audio vocalizations. Which leads me to our second guest and an old friend of mine, Julie Rench. Jules was my fearless co-host back when I was doing my short-lived marine mystery show on Blog Talk Radio. I used to call her my wing woman of woe. She currently hosts Monster X Radio's On the Shoulders of Giants with Thomas Steenberg. She lives in North Carolina, right outside of Uwharrie National Forest. I know I pronounced that wrong. As a result of the creepy and at times terrifying cries emanating from the nearby woods, Julie conducted a 5-year acoustic study with the assistance of David Ellis. I tell you now, some of the recordings we've got coming will give you goosebumps. We got some scary shit coming your way, so brace yourselves. And with that, I would like to welcome David Ellis and Julie Rench to Monsters and Marine Mysteries. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Max.
That was tiring.
Yeah, I had trouble keeping up, but here I am.
There you go. All right, so first, before we dive into the recordings, I'm going to do ladies first, if that's okay. So, Jules, can you give us a bit of info about Uwharrie Forest, where it is, how from the woods you live, and how long have these creepy emanations been going on?
Sure. The Uwharrie Mountains, located in central North Carolina, they formed approximately 500 million years ago. And at that time, they were about 20,000 feet tall. However, over those many years of erosion, they are now around 1,200 feet tall. But, they're very ancient. There's about 50,000 plus acres of forest there. Most of it is in Montgomery County. And it was before man came from Europe over here. the Indians had stayed there, and that's where they believe they got the name Uwharrie Mountains, was from the tribes that lived in that area, which means land of plenty uses. So I live, technically speaking, I can drive to the edge of the forest as the crow flies in 6 minutes.
And like these sounds that these recordings that you have, these audio recordings, these were done from your property. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, from my
And
property over the last 5 years.
okay, so you've been dealing with this for 5 years. Is that how long you've been living there?
Well, I actually originally I was born in a little town about 20 miles south of where I'm at now,
Mhm.
and my family moved here in 1765 and helped found the entire area that we live at, and so I'm pretty sure I live on land that was once owned by my ancestors. So we're still here after all that time.
Awesome. David, before we start going into the recordings, can you take a moment to explain to the viewers and listeners what a spectrogram is, how it works, and how you're able to recognize and identify the sounds we're going to be hearing?
Sure. A spectrogram is akin to a voice print, like a fingerprint. So it's sounds that we can identify visually and know by the markers what it is. For instance, if you look at the spectrogram that's on the screen, the one on the left is a human signature, and the one on the right is we don't know. We suspicious. We think we know what it is, but we're not sure. But what's interesting in the spectrogram, there are certain things that appear and certain things that do not in these two recordings. They are identical sounds. One was captured in a field recording in 2003 or 4 by John Andrews, and the one on the left is a voice actor. So I know that the one on the left is a human, but the one on the right is not. Now, what's interesting, if you'll look at where it says missing in the one on the right, that is what's called the main fundamental. And it's visible on the one on the left, which is human, but it's not present, or what Monongahela calls attenuated. Monongahela is kind of my mentor. He's a cryptolinguist, and he has pointed out some things to me. So just by looking at these, you can identify which is human and which is not.
I have a Godfather. Could we get that back up for a second? I wanted to ask you a question, actually. I'm sorry. Thank you. So, what is there any explanation for why this part is missing at the bottom?
There's a possible explanation. Hearing many of these types of vocalizations, Monongahela calls it the oo to ah transition, and there seems to be something in that transition that mutes or attenuates that main fundamental, which is so if you look at the one on the left where it says the arrow points to the main fundamental, we'll say that that's resonating at 500 hertz. So that would mean that the first harmonic would be resonating at 1,000 hertz. So, and each harmonic thereafter is in 500 hertz increments. So
does that mean that, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
So is 1,000 hertz louder?
No, it's just a tone, if you will. That's the resonance, the pitch resides in that. So what we're looking at is the one that the 500 hertz tone is missing in the main fundamental of the one on the right, which is the suspected Sasquatch vocalization.
The one on the right seems, how can I say this? more powerful, for want of a better
It,
word?
yes, it is. And if you could hear the recording, you could tell. But the voice actor really did nail it. It was able to mimic the sound extremely well. But if you look at the upper portion, near the top of the spectrogram, you'll see a whole bunch more lines. And then if you look over to the right, you see that those are also missing. So the suspected Sasquatch vocalization is more of a compact, resonating in a very low-ish tone, if you will, whereas there's elements of higher resonance in the human.
Would this be related to that infrasound phenomena that
The infrasound is 20 hertz and below. So if you look over to the left, you can see numbers, and near the very bottom is where 20 hertz starts, and there's not much going on in that.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right, let's start getting into the actual vocalizations and stuff. I guess we're going to do these in numerical order. I'll do them one by one. I think I can actually play them myself and cut the Godfather a break here. So 01, which says undulating vocal 2 5 times loop. Do you guys want to introduce what that is before I play it?
Sure. Julie, do you want to talk first, or do you want me to go?
No, go ahead, David.
Okay, so it's what I call an undulated vocalization, which seems to be a characteristic as well that we hear all over North America in areas that people are recording sounds in the night that they suspect Sasquatch are in the area. And this particular one is a 3-step, which is also a marker of a vocalization type. So it is not like any of the other normal creatures that Julie has. And yes, of course, we hear all sorts of things. We hear cattle, we hear roosters, we hear donkeys braying, and a bazillion and one dogs are in Julie's area. So we have all that to filter through, and every once in a while I will visually see something that's not a match for anything else, and that's what catches my interest.
Awesome.
So,
Julie, a question. Were you any of these, were these like recorded like on auto function, let's say, like, or were you present for any of these? Like, were you sitting there like at the fire pit? I know you have a fire pit outside your house.
The first 3, yes. These first 3, I believe they're all let's see, undulating. Yeah, the first 3 you're going to play. I was sitting at the fire pit with my significant other, Jeff, and our friend Mike Richburg, who's also an investigator. And this started happening, and this is just 3 examples of what I recorded from that night. And I would say there was probably 6 total of these long sounds, if you will. And they started to our north and started on the west side of us. And whatever was making these sounds was mobile. And the last one recorded, it was going off to the east of us. And when I say north of us, it wasn't on my property. It was outside of my property line. So, it's like we couldn't run to go see what was making it because it was still quite a ways away and it was not my property. And it's just wooded areas back there. It is private property. So I make a note not to,
so the trees
trespass in these parts of North Carolina because you could get yourself hurt. So.
Yeah. Or worse if you go into the actual forest. So what is the like? How far would you say the trees are from where your fire is? Like, is it 100 yards, 200 yards, 30 feet? I mean, like, I just want to get a visual for like when you hear. I would
say that the section of trees that this came from was probably 500 yards.
500 yards away. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, there's a small corridor or a valley that appears to be a travel corridor that they use. And it goes there. There's actually kind of a circle that seems like, right, Julie, that sometimes they'll start in the east and work south, and then they'll start working west, and then they're in the north, and then traveling through this corridor, they go off to the northeast. So there's kind of like a circuit, and you can tell by the barking dogs, where they're going.
Yeah, I've heard dogs freak out a lot around them. All right, so let's start off with 01, undulating vocal 2, and we'll listen to like the whole, like it repeats, right?
Yes, it's looped.
Okay, we'll listen to that for a bit, and then let's see what we got. If I'm doing this right, it's my first time. So that long sustained, I'll call it a howl. This is the suspected creature.
Right.
And so, like, what does that show up as on the spectrogram? It's a complete anomaly?
No, it's just the shape of the vocalization, where it's resonating, the length of the call, are dynamics that don't match her typical critters that are around her house that vocalize, like barking dogs and stuff. It doesn't fit it would be an anomaly, if you will, to try to ascribe it to one of the dogs in the neighborhood. So I pretty much ruled out dog. Coyote, sometimes I will go onto the Macaulay Library of Sound and look for known creatures like coyotes, vocalizations, and they'll have hundreds of audio files that I'll peruse and look to see if I can find a match. Even though I don't find a match, it doesn't rule it out. It just puts it in a category of high suspicion. So we can't actually say that these are Bigfoot real sounds. They may be. It's possible. I'm stumped. I don't know in the real known world what this matches. It's something different.
Pretty loud for something 500 yards away. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's go on to number 2, which is undulating vocal 3 5 times loop. Come to daddy. Now, Julie, you said this was the same thing and it was traveling?
Yes. This, we were all sitting at the fire pit, and you will hear voices as this thing is going off because we were talking about it. We were all just sitting there staring at each other because you could hear it yelling in one position, and then it would move a little bit more to the east, and then around 2 to 3 minutes later, it would start up, and then it went like that for about 15 minutes worth of these.
And David, is this this is the same creature from the first?
Yeah, I believe so. And you can just by hearing the pitch, you can tell it is vocalizing in the same manner. But because of this style of undulation going in a downward cycle, this was a 2-time step. It stepped down twice. And the other one, it stepped down 3 times. So it had modified its vocalization for whatever reason. I don't know.
That's fascinating. And so, I mean, if it was a coyote, and it does not sound coyote-ish,
right,
wily or otherwise to me, but I mean, there's more than one, right? They communicate back and forth. You would expect you'd hear them like answer each other and whatnot. But all right, let's dive into the third one because this is the same night, right, Julie? You said. Yep,
same subject, I believe.
Yeah, we're going to hear a train whistle in this, and it seems that trains stir things up, and not just are suspicious sounds. They'll stir up dogs, coyotes, everything. But I'm wondering, and I'm just throwing this out there, if trains don't produce maybe some infrasound that they pick up on, that seems to possibly stir them up. Because yeah,
No,
go ahead.
No.
It's your show.
I know, but you were in the middle of a thought. I interrupted you. I'm very thoughtless like that. Believe me, my daughter tells me all the time. I'm working on it.
Well, you got a point, so go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say, so is it possible that, Sasquatch is, by and large, except for the brown bear, probably the dominant predator on the continent? I would imagine a train's volume, resonance, whatever you want to call it, obviously is much bigger, like an elephant or more. That might also be taken as a challenge or something that needs to be answered, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, there are numerous stories of witnesses seeing them traveling the train tracks. So it could be a safety issue as well.
Good
point.
Yeah,
time to get off the tracks.
Julie, one other question before I hit number 3. So the recorder, is right where you guys are?
How far is it? For this particular night, it is about, let's see, that night it was probably, I set it down about 10 feet away from us.
So that tells you
let me just.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, let me just say this. And I didn't have a chance to mention this earlier because I forgot when I was talking about the Uwharrie, but that particular area in the Uwharrie has the most reported Sasquatch sightings in the whole state of North Carolina. There is a long history of them. I don't know, some of our listeners may be familiar with the Finding Bigfoot TV show. Season 1, episode 3, they were actually here at the Uwharrie, and they had some stuff going on over there that happened to them. And one of the people that they interviewed over there, there's a lot of off-road tracks over there for ATVs and this sort of thing. And there was a couple that were on an ATV. The husband was driving, the wife's on the back, and they came around a bend, and there was one of these things standing there, and it went down on all fours and literally chased them.
That's nice.
Yeah,
now, there you go.
So they have a history of being very aggressive in this area and very noisy, and they do like to get down on all fours, and they have been reported being seen doing like a belly crawl through tall grass and that sort of creepy stuff.
That would be extremely frightening. And I know our first guest that we had on the show a while back, Ray Gardner, had said when the one they encountered, it was working its way through tall grass, and it was apparently on all fours. And then the grass was like 5.5 feet, went up to it didn't even get up to its full shoulder on all fours. And then when they got there and it stood up, they were like, "Oh shit!" But the fact that the recorder is 10 feet from you guys, but you could barely hear people talking, but this thing is so loud, tells you that whatever's making that sound has got to be sizable. I got a comment. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got a great point.
Oh, yeah.
That really needs to be emphasized when listening to recordings. The power does not translate, and I wish it did, but most people don't have the. Maybe they're listening on their iPhone. Headphones for this would be good, but it still doesn't give you the power that you're alluding, Max. This does knock your stuff over. Knock yourself over stuff.
We got a comment. It's hard for me to go back and forth, but from Corey Lecapoy, who's a buddy of mine and who is a Bigfoot tracker. Yeah, I know he's had some close encounters, and I'm gonna get him on the show soon. But he said about this recording. Many up here say that would be an elk, but it's only during the day. Would love to send some of the recordings from up here. So, David, if you want Corey to send you some of his stuff to analyze.
I think Corey has sent me stuff before, hasn't he, Julie? Yeah, I think
I'm not sure that Corey has sent anything, but I know no, that's an elk. Well, if that was an elk, that would be amazing because there are none in North Carolina.
but to Corey's point, it's what people think they hear.
Right.
I know that's an elk. Well, yeah, you probably know that's an elk, but I could probably prove you wrong. But
yeah, I know what an elk call sounds like.
Oh,
It
yeah, I've heard them all the time.
in it. Yeah.
No. What I'm saying is that's your personal perception without running it through the visual analysis of understanding what a voice print looks like. Because you could see an elk vocalization and then compare it to this, and you go, "Oh, there's no way." But if you're not going to do that, you may still, lean on what you know. Well, I know that's an elk, so you're not going to tell me any different. So, okay. That's
well,
fine.
I mean, I definitely, Corey, my man, we want to get those recordings and just talk to me directly. I'll get them straight to David if he doesn't have them already. And
perfect.
See what you guys got. Let's go on to egg number 3, which is the last one of that night. Undulating vocal visual signature. Now, is it our same bad boy?
Yeah. Yeah, just a different alteration.
And this thing was still on the move, Julie?
Yeah, Julie? That one, and remember, this is after, I think this one was after 11:30 at night, and that one, if I remember right, was probably like the 5th one we caught out of the series of ones that David had analyzed for me. So that one was probably when it had moved all the way from the west side of us to just a little bit northeast of us as it was traveling.
It was stalking. Was it getting closer as it was moving? Like closer to you?
It was hard to tell. But I didn't get the feeling that it was. I got the feeling that it stayed pretty stationary as far as the area that it was, but it was just moving from west to east, but still in the same general area.
Cool. Corey also said, David, he hasn't said anything yet, and I wasn't saying it's an elk.
Oh no, I wasn't saying.
People there would say that.
Yeah, I was using that as an example of somebody. I'm not saying, Corey, that you thought that. I'm sorry if you took it that way. I didn't mean it.
He's going to be an amazing guest on the show. I've heard his firsthand, and it's. He's lucky to be alive.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So number 4, we're going to move on to it's vocal and a knock. Does anybody want to give me any background on this? Julie Rench? Julie?
Let's see. Julie. Yeah, that one was December of 2017. And this is an example of, you have to remember, the audience needs to know that the project that we've been doing, I bet you I have, David, and you can verify or maybe I'm wrong, but I bet you we have over 600 clips of interest from this property.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't clip every wood knock either.
No. After a while you just go, okay, there's this unusual knock here, there's this power knock here. And I don't clip, and he doesn't clip every single solitary. These are just some examples of some of the best stuff. But I mean, I literally have so many clips. It's just mind-boggling, some of the stuff I've got from this property without even trying, really, some of it. So,
explain how many hours that you log in recording. You were doing it every night for
about every night there for a couple years. I did it pretty much every night that was wasn't raining or it wasn't like situations going on where it wouldn't have been feasible to set that recorder out. But you're talking 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours of audio to go through, an average of 20 days a month. So,
Well, you had some scary experiences,
lots.
so I could understand the motivation. You're like, what the heck is out there? What is like trying to communicate? What is like, trying to talk to us? Like, all right, let's look at listener number 4, and then we'll get David's feedback on that.
Just one.
Oh.
I was just going to mention that we're going to hear a wood knock, and what's significant about a wood knock and a vocalization is it's two things that are suspected to be Sasquatch activity. So anytime that you can get more than one thing that is suspected to be Sasquatch related, it just increases the potential of whatever vocalization that comes thereafter.
I have a wood knock question, but we'll address that later.
Okay.
Now that's repeated just so everybody knows. So was the first playing of the woo sounds one recording played 4 times or 4 woo in the same recording from Deanna Deem? That was repeated, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's Deanna. It's cycled. So
most of these are looped anywhere from 3 to 5 times. I try to put it in the title so that we know how many times, but I do that because if you play a sound once, it usually goes, could you play that again? So
I thought you wanted me to. I was reaching.
No. No, that's the typical question is, because it takes a little bit for the mind to register what it's hearing. And so the first 3 times you kind of don't get it, but around the 3rd time you start to get it. So the next 2, you can kind of zero in on what you want to hear or what you want to listen to find.
So I want to play this for a second, and then hold on, one replay. So not to be a smart ass, but to me, that sounds like somebody whacked somebody, with like a big branch, and they were like, like this and everything like that, like, I mean, I'm sure it's not, but like boink, like it almost like a Bugs Bunny type of thing, like, like my foot or something like that.
You've watched too many Roadrunner cartoons.
I watched growing up and even recently. Yes. So what's your feedback on that, David?
Okay. There's a little bit of a strange sound to that wood knock. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. A wood knock is a catch-all phrase. It's really, I started a few years back, I started calling them percussive sounds because they may not be wood on wood. They may be a tongue click or a mouth pop. Making those particular sounds, and sometimes they just don't sound wood on wood, but it's a percussive sound, something striking, something
hollow, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So maybe a little tinny, like maybe it hit something metallic.
Kathy Gates said it sounds like a submarine ping.
Yeah, there you go. Did you see any submarines, Julie? What are we missing?
Well, I'm not when I'm sober, but
she does have a swamp.
Oh,
yeah, swamp back there.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to number 5 because we got a lot of these to cover, and I know we're going to run out of time and have to extend. This is deep vocal 5 times loop 212 from May 13th, 2019. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Let's bring that bad boy on. Now that's looped, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, were you there live for that, Julie?
Let's see. What date was that?
May 13th.
Probably, yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm out there for a lot of these things that happen, and a lot of them are between. Let me just say this: most of the sounds that are off the chart weird are between 1 and 3 a.m. And I get the most activity in the spring and the fall. I get very little in the summer, and in the winter it's average, but it heightens in the spring and the fall.
So, David, what does that sound like to you?
It sounds similar to the first three. It has kind of a singing tone quality to it, sustained um, undulation, if you will, but it's in a lower resonance or a lower pitch,
Deeper.
which to me, yes, deeper, which means to me that it's a different individual. This could be the Big Daddy or Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Julie, I almost called you Ava. Wow. I spending way too much time with my child. Not that's a bad thing, but earlier watching anime together and stuff like that, peas in a pod. So do you know how far away that one was? Any idea?
Well, I can tell you that majority of these sounds, I know they're not on my property. We have 10 acres that surround our house that is ours, and then there's a lot of acreages around us that are, there's some houses around us, but then the further you go out, there are areas there's literally no houses for hundreds and hundreds of acres of woods. That one was probably, most of these are probably at least 200 to 500 or more feet away from my house.
It sounds like a larger, like David said, like a bigger creature, for want of a better term, and to me it sounds like an ape of some kind. I'm serious. Like I've heard like primates make calls like that, but not that boisterous or that low pitched, let's say, and stuff, but all right, let's move on to number 6. It says back and forth vocal.
Yeah, I think there's a communication happening here between two individuals.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have questions. So this first creature is the one that's more singing.
Yeah.
Like, woo, well, this type of stuff. Okay.
Right.
And it seems to repeat itself, like a first, a longer one, a little shorter one. And then there's like a banging sound, like a wood knock or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds more like a wood knock to me. So,
Yeah.
or what is a classic wood knock?
And then there's something that answers it. Am I reading that right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys like? What's your take on that?
Go ahead, Julie.
And Corey said, by the way, 500 feet is pretty close to.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say really how far the sounds are coming from because I have a digital recorder, Sony digital recorder, and it can pick up. And you have to remember, I have a ridgeway that goes to our north that we're kind of surrounded by from north down to northwest. So there's a lot of things that bounce off of there too. So it's kind of hard sometimes to get a real good idea of how far off that could be. But to me, hearing sounds like this that I've heard before out there, the back and forth stuff that I've heard, it sounds like they're, this is just me. It could be a male-female thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking, that the first one was possibly a female. one that had more of a singing quality tone, and the percussive sound and the shorter vocal had a lower pitch, lower tone, lower resonance again. But the knock and the scream are something that I've recorded for a long time. So it's not an uncommon thing to have a percussive sound and a scream.
I think the male female thing makes sense too. I think she was sending a text message,
Yeah. Got it.
Their version of a text message like, "Hey, you want to come over tonight?" Like, my husband's not home.
That may be taking speculation to another level, but
well, I'm never like, he comes to the territory and all that stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah, like hello. And you hear him drop whatever he was doing, literally like boom, like he dropped like a deer he was carrying. He's like, "Ooh, I'll be right there." Boom, 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 boom. Okay.
Olive oil and Popeye.
That's right. All right, let's see what we got here. Percussive sound, too interesting. Listen, I got to make this show entertaining for everybody, Let me just pause this for a second and apologize because I didn't say what this was. This was number 7, percussive sound, too interesting. It's cut off. I can't read the rest of it. I'm going to play it. Keep playing it.
Signatures.
This could be a territorial situation. That was a power strike, and a power strike will knock you on your ass, if I can say that.
Yeah, you can. We allow one expletive.
Where's Dave with his sound effects? So the that sound is really powerful, and there's 2 vocalizers. One had a little bit higher pitch than the other one. So again, I think it may have been an intruder coming into the area, and the other marking its territory. Yeah, I heard you. You're not welcome. Keep moving.
Yeah, it sounds like something hit a tree with a log.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and there's a lot of power behind that. I remember in high school when a guy, like, to be funny, walked up to his friend. They were both like built like tanks. The guy was sitting down and he punched him in the chest. Boom, so hard. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, that sounded like a telephone pole hitting the side of a mountain." You know? Well, this is obviously much, much worse.
Right.
So,
Right.
But cool. All right. Let's see. Number 8, percussive voice, weird vocals. Does anybody want to preface this with anything?
Sure. Percussive voice is my terminology. It's something that I found in numerous recordings across North America. It seems to be structured percussive sounds that could be coming from the vocal tract, mouth pops, tongue clicks, huffs, puffs, grunts are part of this mixture. Now, this is a slowed down version of it. Whatever this particular subject is not doing it the way I normally hear it, but it's definitely, you can pick out the percussive sounds. And there is sort of a speech pattern to it, but not speech, obviously.
Okay. Before I hit this, Ray Gardner, who's the very first guy we had on the show, that was the one I told you where the Sasquatch was going on all fours and then stood up and scared the crap out of them and stuff. Yeah, so he said a good audio, so just let you guys know. And Ray, by the way,
hey Ray, thanks for listening.
Hey. So Ray,
Hey.
if you have any, what is in this water? Oh my God! If you have any audio of your own, because he's gotten, we had some amazing stuff on the show. 19-inch tracks in the snow, all sorts of stuff like that. If you have any recordings, audio, and you want to
Wow.
reach out to David, we'll set that up right away.
You bet.
Let's see what we got here. Totally agree. That's right. That's what I like to hear. You do not agree with me. All right, percussive voice, weird vocal. Let's hear it. Boom. Wow. Okay. So
Unpack that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and it's a longer thing than I expected. So from what I'm hearing there, and none of those were like knocks or anything like it. That was actual vocalizations, all that.
That's my speculation due to looking at the visual signature on the spectrogram.
I mean, that sounds like I've heard like recordings and stuff of gorillas making sounds like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, this type of stuff, like a confrontation, a threat, you know, threat display, that type of stuff. And then you obviously have something else in the distance. It sounds like making that, woo, you know, whatever and stuff like that.
Right.
So, was this the same night as the percussive sound from before?
No, this is a different night, but I can tell you that the second part of this sounds very similar to the undulating vocals from the first, second, and third clips.
Okay.
Very
All right.
similar.
Right.
I'm really glad that it wasn't the same night, because then I was going to lead into the husband came home. And that was the husband. And the wife was like, get the hell out of here. Thank you, Godfather.
Good cue, Dave.
No, that's and now I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that whatever was making that, that sounds large.
Yeah, that sounds like Big Daddy, doesn't it?
That's the kind of shit that goes through you and goes clear to your toes. Let me tell you, I've been out there and witnessed that kind of stuff, and it vibrates you in your chair.
Well, I told you about that thing that growled at me from outside of my house from the woods, you know, and that's, I mean, literally, like when it went through my feet and stuff, and I was like, it's not good. This is such, you know, it's like, I really don't want to be here right now, kind of thing, you know. I should be inside, sitting on the sectional with my remote control in my hand, watching the flat screen, not out here. But anyway, okay, so, wow, that's my favorite one so far, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite.
I mean, that really sounds like an aggressive creature.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if he was yelling at, you know, like, where's my dinner, woman?
Yeah.
You know, I could do these. Thank you. It's gonna be an ongoing. I could do this all night. I'm like
TV dinners again.
Oh, I ate already, so I'm good. Okay. All right, we're up to number 9. Plus, she never watches the show anyway. You know, singing 5 times. I'm gonna have to take that button away from him. I can see this right now. Okay, singing 5 times loop. This is dated 2/29/20. So obviously, this was after Valentine's Day. So, you know, if somebody missed it, maybe it's going on here. All right, I got to stop with the jokes. Here we go. Let's listen to this bad boy. Do you guys want to preface this with anything? The
Yeah, I
singing
will.
5-time loop, number 9.
The singing, we call it singing because, I mean, it seems like some type of melody to it almost. And I've caught these exact type long versions of this. You know, I have super long versions of it, shorter versions, but I have probably over, God, I want to say 40 or 50 examples of this just by itself, of this particular type of vocal.
She does.
I got a few comments here about the other one, the with the whoa, whoa, whoa. Ray Gardner said it's very similar to what he's heard in Coshocton, Ohio, but
Wow.
much closer and cleaner. Corey said very much Big Daddy, and then Ray said we heard this when we went past several large ones. He felt it was a warning.
Oh my.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. All right, let's hear the singing, and singing 5 times loop. I think we're at number 9. She's got a hell of a voice.
Yeah.
Is that a female?
One can suspect. I mean, it just by the pitch, that seems to be kind of a consensus of opinion.
It seems like I don't want to say a friendlier call, but
Right.
more like a, I don't know what. Yeah, communicating, or just enjoying the night, or maybe trying to sucker some poor guy out of his tent. And he's like, ooh, what's that? Whoa, hello, hi. No, I'm married man. Like. Thank you. This is going to become part of it. Hold on, I've got a bunch of comments before we dive into this. Hold on a second here. There's a lot. I got to catch up with all this. Okay, yeah, yours was cleaner. Hashtags. If went through your feet, Max, what I saw made it go through my pants. I would have died if my visual encounters included vocals like these. And Ray says that's the hey baby call, like hey baby. All right. So we heard that was the singing one. All right, so let's do the short singing voice number 10. All right, because we're gonna try and keep things moving. Comments?
Sounds like a whoop at the end.
Yeah, this one sounds maybe like the larger one is attempting to do some singing. It has a lower resonance to it than the higher pitched. Sorry, don't let it come out your nose, Max. No, goodness.
That's good stuff. It really is. Terry Marks says, is this the Uwharrie Mountains? Yes, it is, Terry. And Ray Gardner says, I am so jealous he hasn't heard anything similar to this. All right. So, I mean, yeah, this sounds like you've got an actual population and a culture to it.
Yeah.
They communicate, they sing to each other, they go argue, they threaten, this type of stuff. I mean, I've read a lot related to that. So, I mean, I told you that story, I think, a while back, Julie. I might have about that. I read online a guy where he was kidnapped by one, and she kept him in a pit.
Yeah.
And forced him to repeatedly. Did you guys never heard that story, David?
No.
Yeah, this guy. I read this in the last couple of years or something like that. I never saved these things, but yeah, he was grabbed by this thing. I think he was taken out of his tent or something like that. And he was deposited in a pit 10 feet deep that she had dug into the ground with her bare hands. And she forced him to procreate or whatever, or attempt to procreate or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how that works, because I don't think I'd be turned on by something like that, but whatever. And she had taken his shoes, socks, licking his hands and the soles of his feet, and her saliva made all his skin come off. And so he could not try and escape because it was so painful to try and climb.
Ew.
She kept him there like for I don't know how long this went on. And eventually he got so desperate that he just dealt with the pain of the missing skin and everything and managed to climb out and escape. But she would come several times a day, if memory serves, and force him to perform. So obviously she was looking to get impregnated. And, yeah, because, But anyway.
No.
Never had that experience. How about you guys?
No, thanks.
Oh, I meant the guys in the chat room that go hunting these things. Let's see.
No, I mean, that just means I don't know if I'm going to be sitting around that fire pit much longer.
Can you imagine? Woo, I just can't understand, like, how that would work. I just,
yeah.
I might have some performance anxiety. It could happen. Okay. Was that 10 we just heard, the short singing loop?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on a second. I got something in private chat I got to see. Okay. And then I got a comment over here. 50 Shades of Shaggy. And there you have it. All right. Number 11, strange sounds. 3 times loop. It looks like we're going to go over some kind of accelerate. What the heck is that?
Okay, there's another category that's called drumming that I'm following all across North America. This has got some drumming at the very beginning. There's also some chirping in there, and I don't know, or I can't figure out where that is coming from. If it's coming from the same individual that's doing the drumming, or if it's another source, I don't know. But then there's a short vocal at the very end. So all of that tied together makes me a little suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like my piece of crap truck trying to start at the beginning, like and stuff like that, But I don't know. Corey has asked you guys, is there any theory behind the amount of vocals at certain times of the year?
It seems that there's more activity in the autumn in the Northwest. I can only speak from my particular vantage point, but whether it's seasonal specific in other areas of the country, I can't attest to that. But there does seem to be more activity starting from mid-August through the beginning of winter.
Ray said that's a hell of a subcategory on Pornhub. What's Pornhub?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, right.
Why, Mr. Hawthorne? What will it be today? Godfather, you're going to die. Let me see here. Oh, and one other question. So these recordings are pretty much all at night?
Yes.
Yes?
These are...
Okay.
Normally speaking, as you know, different times of the year, the sun goes down here in winter at like 5 p.m. So you can know if anything's going to happen that night, it's going to happen. Usually indicators will start 3 hours after sundown, whether it's 5 in the winter or 9 in the summer. 9:30 is when the sun goes down. 3 hours after that is usually the indicators start, which include the dogs start going off to my south east, or you'll hear some knocking type sounds, and that's usually what starts it all. And a lot of times, if nothing happens, it's weird because there'll be no dog activity whatsoever. If you have no dogs at all, chances are you're not going to catch any weird audio either.
Interesting. Of course, the dogs obviously know things we don't. So yeah, so Terry had said, Terry Marks, I deer hunt the mountains that have not had the pleasure of hearing anything. So Terry, I don't know if you deer hunt at night. I have never partaken of hunting myself, but if it's during the daytime, then I mean that would explain it. But everything that Julie has gotten recorded, heard, etc., has been at nighttime, pretty late, that type of stuff. We're gonna skip that one. And Corey had asked if that's in the rain, like the recordings, or is it are your recordings always taking place when it's raining, or is it like does it
No, normally if it's raining, I won't put my audio recorder out because the sound of the rain on the recorder is going to disrupt everything. Now I can put it in different places where it won't rain on the actual audio recorder, but there's just so much background noise that it just interferes with anything that you could record, making it almost impossible to say for sure what you're hearing.
Bigfoot sounds like a German Shepherd. That's a big German Shepherd. Okay, moving right along. Let's keep this thing going here. So that was what? 11? So we're at 12. Yes. Interesting mix, correct?
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of things in here, including some strange sounds, but you're going to hear a lot of normal
sounds.
Animals. Yeah.
Okay.
And this was around 3-ish a.m. This was recorded on, oh Lord, this was just January 28th of this year. So this was just current back here in January, around 3:15-ish a.m.
And this is number 12, right?
Yes.
Well, it sounds like the gates of hell open to me. What do we got here?
Well, you got kind of everything under the sun. You've got rooster, dog.
We definitely have some, rooster or chickens. We have the thing I'm hearing is the that comes in kind of towards the end. That is a very familiar vocalization that I capture frequently.
Well, when my alarm goes off at 6 in the morning to get up to take Ava to school, I do the same thing. I go, oh. I open my eyes and I realize I'm not dead, and I curse God, and stuff like. But anyway, so what do we think that mixed in with that? What stands out as something unusual?
Yeah, there is one, and it's tough to if I had a spectrogram, I could point to it, but we're just listening, so we can't see it.
Okay, let me see what this comment is. What part of the Uwharries has the most activity? I mainly hunt north of El Dorado.
Let's see if he's north of El Dorado. Well, I'll tell you, if you off from Morris Campground and Yates Place, if you go as far away as you can from the campground and off trail from those two directions, that's where a lot of things occur. The closer you are to a campground, you could still have stuff happen to you in the campground. I mean, that's where the squeaky footage was filmed by Mike Green some years back over here at Morris Mountain Campground. But the majority of things that I've experienced are off trail and away from the campgrounds, at least, say, 500 feet away from the campgrounds, off trail.
Cool. We got 3 more to go through, so we're going to be able to wrap this up hopefully within 10 minutes or so. I'm just going to let everybody know, first off, if you're in the chat room, and Terry said so, Main Park area. Does that sound right, Julie?
Main Park area.
The main
park Yes,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
centralized part. And also up off of Black Ankle Road, and also by the Uwharrie River, the low bed area of the Uwharrie River is good areas too.
Cool. So, Godfather, can you bring Boris up real quick? I think we lost him. Is he there? Oh, there he is. Hey, all right. So if you're in the chat room and you want a chance to win that Kindle copy of Monsters and Marine Mysteries, don't forget you got to put the hashtag lowercase, just as you see on the screen there. Hashtag Monsters Are Real in the chat, whether it's YouTube or on the Facebook page or anything like that. Otherwise, the system won't pick you up for the random drawing. And can I get that picture of that lovely young lady that I sent you a little while ago? So this is Savannah, one of my readers, Jeff Elrod's lovely daughter. He sent that in to me,
Aw.
said we could put it on there. She's actually holding in her right hand the mosasaur tooth, that fossil mosasaur tooth that Jeff won a few weeks back
Oh, wow.
on the show, and an antique copy of my debut novel, Cronus Rising, with the original old cover that was out like the first year or so. So this lovely young
Sweet.
lady is holding two great prizes, and obviously she's a future Cronus Rising reader right there.
Yay. Congratulations.
Let's see what we got here. So we're going to have that drawing up momentarily. All right, let's keep plugging away here. This one is called A Lot Going On Here, 3 Times Loop. Is this one of the ones you guys were excited about?
The last 3 here are kind of fun, but
The last 3 are head scratchers.
And the last one is icing on the cake.
Sweet. All right, let's get this party started. Okay, so first I got to know that really deep sound thing that's like thunder. Is that an actual life form making that noise?
I think so, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
that's very similar to what I've heard out at the fire pit to my west many, many times. It seems I don't know whatever it is. I know there's a pond over there to my west, not on my property, but it's beyond our swamp. And I hear that low, weird, grunting, huffing noise sometimes when I'm out there at the fire pit alone at like, say, 2 a.m. by myself. Yeah, I'm nuts. I'll say it.
But you are armed, right? I mean,
you
don't sit out there. Okay.
That swamp can come into play with the loudness of the vocalization. If it's on the edge of the swamp, that vocal is going to carry unobstructed to Julie. So that's why even a low, deep, gruff growl, if it's in the swamp, could get that sound at that level to her.
You are totally right, because years back I was fishing a lake in New Jersey, and the nearest boat was, at least 1,000 feet away. 2 of them, 2 boats, and I was by myself, a state record pickerel, boat side. Okay, I was like reaching for the net, and the hook came out, and I went boop, like that, and it just emanated in every boat in the area. A few seconds later, you heard all this laughter echoing back, because they all knew what happened and they were all enjoying it. So I can tell you, it does work like that. He's absolutely right. So it sounds to me like there's a lot of different critters there. I mean, do we know based on the spectrogram, are any of them identifiable, or do we have
every one of them? But I mean, I'd have to show you the spectrogram and say that's suspicious, that's a dog, that's something else, this is that,
because it sounds like somebody got pissed off, and had to lay down the law, you kids stop this or I'm going to turn this car around. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Wow. That's probably the scariest sound I've heard, you know, short of my alarm clock. Let's see today.
Yes.
All right. We got here number 14, Odd Chatter. That'd be the name of my next episode.
That was not looped. That was just one run through.
Yeah.
It was long enough that
Wow.
I didn't loop it.
So what do we think?
You got me.
I have no idea. I've never heard anything like that before.
I don't think either Julie or I have heard much like
No.
that. It does sound like it's the Big Daddy again because of the low resonance.
Mm-hmm.
But there also seems to be something else in there that has a low resonating. And I don't know if it's the same individual changing its pitch or if it's a different individual. I don't know.
Mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Kind of nagging the poor guy.
Yeah.
You think they have mothers-in-law?
No.
Can you play that one more time, Max, since it wasn't looped so that our audience can...
Sure. Odd Chatter, right?
Yeah.
Number 14? You got it. Sounds like several individuals, definitely.
I don't know if you picked up that
Yeah.
there was a wood knock in the middle of that, which helps increase the suspicious nature of because it was a wood knock and a vocal.
So when you say suspicious,
Yeah.
suspicious meaning that it could be faked, or suspicious meaning like it's not something normal?
It's not something normal.
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's almost like a
Yeah.
conversation, or you know, like
Yeah, like like two or three different things. That was recorded on 12/5/21, and this one and the next one were recorded the same evening, probably within 10 minutes of each other or so. The next one is looped,
okay.
but the first one that we just heard is not. But the final one is looped, and it is also a part of what happened that night.
We'll take one last question before we hit that last one. Terry Marks wanted to know, what do you think the population number is in the park / surrounding area? I don't know if there's any way to figure that, but
A population of suspicious subjects.
Yeah,
and
like, in
again,
other
I
words,
can't say that these things are Bigfoot because I haven't seen what's making these sounds. I can only know that, this area is known for Bigfoot activity, has been for a long, long time. Sounds are very similar to what David has recorded himself and have had sent to him by many, many other researchers on their property and other areas. And I can tell you that in my area here, just a few miles outside the edge of the forest, we, I believe, have been able to account for at least 5 to 7 different subjects just on this side of the forest. And I would say, at least that many then in the Uwharrie.
okay. So
This next one that you're going to play, I may as well tip our hand just so people are listening to it and see if they agree. But Jeff, Julie's husband, and Terry, my wife, when we played this recording for them, they both had the same automatic response, and so have numerous others. And they just looked at me. My wife looked at me and said, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So we got some dinosaurs, it sounds like, here.
Yeah.
Listen, now you're speaking my language. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
I made my bones with dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying? Like fossil bones, even. Forget about it. Hey, ooh. Sorry, flipping back out of character there. All right, all right. This is our last recording of the evening, and let's hear it. Oh, this is on a loop, right?
Yeah.
5-minute loop. Okay.
Yes.
By the way, Corey said the answer to how many there are is more than one, which I guess that's sensible.
Yeah, Corey.
So I don't think those are animals that I'm familiar with.
Right.
Been in the woods more than once, and to me, it sounds like an argument.
Could have been.
Or an intense discussion between. I think there's several individuals there. I mean, I don't know, but you would know better than me with the spectrogram. I mean, how many do you think are, like, what kind of numbers are we looking at?
Well, I to be honest with you, I can't recollect, but I know that there are numerous individuals in that. So you're right. It could be a discussion, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like this one very large creature is like, no. And then the other one's like, but I want to. And then the father is probably like, stop going to that woman's house. Not interested. She has a man. Okay. A male of her species. It's not going to happen. And he's like, well, Dad, come on. You know, and he's like, sorry, Julie, I'm just kidding. Well, we did have a guest on who was stalked by a Bigfoot for like 12 years, she said, who would come to her house like once a month or something like that and bang on the walls of her house and stuff and always seemed to know where she was in the house.
Wow.
Like if she was on the couch, he'd hit that wall. If she was in the bedroom, he'd hit that wall, you know, this type of thing. And this one, I mean, one time she flipped out. She said she ran outside with a golf club and he was running. She saw him just leap over the wall. And she was screaming, you better run, you whatever, and stuff like that and all, you know, so, and I was, like, it broke his heart. Poor guy, you know, and he moved away and all that. So, I don't know, you know, strange things have happened. I mean, they are humanoid, at least half human, according to Paulides' genetic DNA tests and stuff. So, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. We just identify suspicious. I don't make a declaration because at this point we can't, but there have been witnesses that have seen them vocalize. We just need to get something recorded so then we can say, okay, you can see it vocalizing. We know it came from that. But some of the typical sounds like woodnocks, people have reported seeing them strike a tree. They've also seen them clap their hands to make percussive sounds. People have claimed to seeing them whoop, throw their head back and whoop.
Mhm.
Some have described that for the long vocalization that they throw their head back. I don't know why that would be important, but it seems to be something that's reported. So,
So my
it,
woodknock question was, do you think that, and I mean, this is, a stretch to ask a question like this, but do you think that is something that the species has been doing all its existence for thousands of years, or do you think it's something that they could have picked up on from seeing Native Americans and Europeans and stuff like cutting down trees with axes?
I think it's the former. I think they've been doing it for long before we came around and were aware of their presence. I think it's um, uh, there was a area that I would go to quite often, and if they were around,
Hmm.
I would be announced as I got out of my car. I would hear a wood knock, and then as I was
Mm.
leaving, I would hear a wood knock. So if they're in an area, they have watchers or sentries or whatever you want to call them, seemingly
Hmm.
because of the way that the wood knock would draw attention to my presence of being there. So I think that there's some sort of stealthy communication capability. I've
Hmm.
actually had also wood knock exchanges
Hmm.
going back and forth. I have a way of creating a wood knock by um, jetting some air into my mouth, creating a popping sound. And I've had interactions back and forth doing
Mm.
that. Um, so it seems to be a form of communication, and like I said, stealthy. There, you're not going to pay attention to a knocking sound in the woods. Your mind is just going to glaze right over that. So I'm sure that's something that they
Mhm.
picked up on.
Um, uh, awesome. Corey said, I do have to tell you all, Julie knows this. I've played Julie's recordings. Now he's in Canada. Um, and in the bush with a very active animal life at night, they shut even the insects up. Wolves or coyotes go silent. So when they hear the
Mhm.
stuff you've got, everything in the area is like, okay. And he says it's extremely strange that
Yes,
this
I
happens.
remember.
Yeah, 1,500 miles away.
Yeah, I remember when Corey did that and he was telling me about it. I thought that was absolutely amazing. And let me just say this, I also go over, of course, to the Uwharrie and do investigations and different things. And I can tell you that I do research with a couple other people, and there's been many nights where they will be over in the Uwharrie, and we will compare what's recorded both here and over there, about say 12 miles to my west, where they're at, and then we capture some of the same type of sounds from the same suspicious subjects on the same nights,
Hmm.
12 miles apart from where they're at to where I'm at. We catch them, same nights. And also, there's been people who have sent me audio that they have themselves captured over in the Uwharrie on different occasions, and it matches some of the stuff that I've recorded. So,
They travel a lot. They cover a lot of territory then over the course of a night, unless their vocalizations carry that far. My God, I mean that's a lot.
right.
Sasquatch is known as Kichisabe. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. Here, Kitchesabe with an accent on it. Kichisabe. I don't know. I apologize, Corey. You know, I only speak English and Brooklynese. That's it. You know what I'm saying. But anyway, so there you have it. All right, Godfather, are you still lurking around? There he is, my man. Why don't we get a drum roll and get our winner, if we've had any people entering for that, for our door prize? I'll do the drum roll myself. Wait.
There's only one person in the
There's
drawing.
only one person? Well, then you know what? They're the winner. That's terrible. Terrible. I must be losing my charm. So,
Kathy Gates.
Kathy Gates. Well, there you go. You'll reach out to
Kathy,
me.
all right.
All right. Let's wait. Hold on. Here we go. Congratulations. I like this stuff. Hopefully, one person
Awesome.
will watch the show. Most of it is, people go to it later in the archives. But they have lives.
Right.
Right.
Anyway, awesome. Well, we're going to close up shop momentarily. Let me see if there's any other comments here. Kichisabe. Oh, Kathy said, ha ha, thank you. Kichisabe is the
Yay.
leader to our native legend. And Deanna Deem says they use portals. Awesome. And the portal thing, that's going to be very interesting soon or something.
That's for
Anyway.
another show.
Exactly. Definitely. Guys, David, Julie, I cannot thank you guys enough for coming on. It has been my honor.
Yes,
and
thank
privilege.
you for having us.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Dave.
And let me just say this, that if anybody's listening and they want to check out some more of the audio that I have recorded, they can reach me in my email, julie.rench, that's RENCH, at yahoo.com. I'd be happy to send you more clips. Or if you want to send me clips that you would like to have David analyze for you, I'm sure he would be happy to do that. If you want to send them to my email as well, and maybe we can see if you have anything similar to what we've been capturing.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Well, thank you. I'm just expecting Deanna said, what's the hashtag? It's too late, Deanna. It's hashtag monsters are real, all lowercase, all one word. But Julie sent me a megalodon tooth. Nice. I'm just expecting a freebie, Max.
I sure did.
Really fun, interesting show. Kathy, get with us at Skydoor. Okay, we're all good here. So, guys, we're going to close up shop here. I know you're all broken up about it. I am so sorry. Seriously. No. I'm sorry. We can't. I have to get up early for school and all that. Just cut it out. But anyway, boys with toys. Guys, have a great night. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you, Max.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.
And everybody have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.